Hi, welcome to Small Things Greatly. I'm Nina and today we're going to make some chocolate bark. We're going to get started by just putting the chocolate wafers, which you can get at any craft store or even in your supermarket. This isn't a fussy chocolate that you have to temper and the kind that you see on some of the cooking shows. This is a really basic chocolate. I've got little half-pound bags here, and we're going to put it into this plastic container, which I like to use just because I have a lot of them and it melts the chocolate pretty evenly. So I'm going to put in probably about a pound of chocolate, and when these things start to melt, it'll actually take up less room and we're going to have time to stir in the things that we're going to stir in. So I'm going to just get started and put this in, and it's probably going to be in the microwave at high power for, I start usually at 2 minutes, sometimes 222, just because it's easier to hit that on the microwave. All microwaves are different, as we know, so just kind of go shorter time if you want, and then we'll figure out later, you'll know what your microwave can do. You don't want to burn the chocolate. If it's in there too long, it will seize up and it's going to be hard to stir. So what we're going to make with that one is, that's a dark chocolate, and we're going to make a dark chocolate and pretzel bark, which is one of my favorites. Not necessarily the dark chocolate, but just pretzels and chocolate to me are one of the best combinations because you've got your salty and sweet. So I like that. And what I'm going to do is to just take some of the pretzels, and you can use any kind of pretzels, whether they're they're going to get crushed up anyway, so it's not going to make a big difference. But in other shows, we've actually dipped these, and sometimes you'll get the broken ones, which you can either eat or you can save and crunch up. So I just put them into a bag, and we're going to just crush this with a mallet. It's pretty simple. And you can just kind of judge how much you need. Once you do this, you'll figure it out. This is nice for getting out your frustrations too, but we're just gonna, you can take whatever. You can use a rolling pin. I just use this meat tenderizer, which I never use for actual meat, and crush this up. It doesn't have to be really, really all small pieces. I'm gonna use some of it to mix in, and some of it I'm actually just gonna put on top because I kind of like people to know this is like a sneak preview of what's inside. They don't have to ask, what are those bumps in there? You know, this is, if there's pretzels on top, it might be pretzels inside. So I'm gonna do that, and afterwards I'm hoping that we can just drizzle it with some white chocolate. So to do that, I'm gonna get a little bit ahead here, and when that comes out, I'm gonna put the white chocolate in so we'll be ready to go. I get these in big 5-pound bags. This is about half of that, but like I said, you can get almost anything in terms of size. A pound will go a long way in dipping chocolates and in making a tray of bark like we're going to be doing today. So to fill up the bag that I'm going to be drizzling the chocolate with, I'm going to just put it into a tall glass, and then we're going to take the white chocolate, which has already been melted, and we're just going to put it in and trying to get to the corner of the glass as much as possible, corner of the bag as much as possible. There's no corner on a glass. So that's what we're doing here. And I like to use the Ziploc bags that are a little bit heavier, almost like the freezer ones. You can use the sandwich bags, but sometimes they just, they don't stand up to the squeezing, and they might not be great for that. So we're going to just have this ready. I'm not going to cut the corner right now, but we're just going to cut that corner afterwards, and the chocolate will come out that way. We're going to be putting it onto a cookie sheet that just has parchment paper on it. This parchment paper you can buy already cut up into this size, which is nice, or you can actually do rolls of it. So our other chocolate should be ready to come out. And you can see that they look pretty much the same as when they went in, but they're shiny. And they've still kept their same shape, but it's able to stir right now. And at first you'll get a few little lumps, but as you go, it gets a little bit smoother. Usually gets even smoother than that, but today might be a little bit fussy, or we could maybe put it in a little longer. It's going to be fine like this because we're going to be adding in the pretzels. So I'm reserving a little bit of this to put on afterwards, like I said, but we're going to just put the crushed up pretzels into here. And stir it around. And this is really so simple, and it's going to come out great. It's easy to do because you're just going to put it onto the cookie sheet in one big slab. Then after it goes in the freezer or the fridge and gets solid, we're going to break it into smaller pieces. So just going to put this onto here, and we're going to smooth it out as much as we can. Because it's got the pretzel bites in there, might not be as flat as some of the other ones we're going to be making, like the peanut butter delight that we'll be doing next. But this is just going to go on here, smooth out as much as you can. You don't want to have any spaces because then it makes it a little bit easier to if the spaces would make it a little bit tougher to break up. But pretty much you're just going to try and stay within that rectangle and make it as thin as possible. So that's what we've got here. That's pretty much done. And I like to add a little bit of the whatever's inside. So if it's pretzels, we're going to put this on the outside. And what I've learned is sometimes as much as you'd like these to stay on top when you break it, they don't always. So I've learned that I drizzle it also with a little bit of the white chocolate, and sometimes that helps it stay. You can kind of push in pieces if you need to. And then I'm just going to drizzle it with this white chocolate that we got ready earlier. So, only it's not going to work if I don't cut the hole like I said I was going to. So we're just going to cut a little tiny hole in the side. You can always make it bigger, but can't make it smaller. So you can see it comes out pretty easy. You can just go like that. And I like going in swirls sometimes. Sometimes it makes squiggles. It really is very simple, and that's kind of going to hold those pretzel pieces on. You could also push them in a little bit with a spoon, but it gets kind of messy. So for the most part, you can just drizzle this back and forth. Just gives you a little something extra. So this is going to be a dark chocolate with the pretzels and drizzled with the white. So I'm going to put this into the fridge. It's probably going to take 5 or 10 minutes to set up. And you don't want to leave it in too long, especially anything with pretzels, because sometimes the moisture in the fridge can make it so the pretzels aren't nice and crispy anymore, so I try not to do that. The next thing we're going to do is melt the chocolate that we're going to use in the peanut butter delight. So this is going to go in while we're mixing up the white chocolate and peanut butter, and just going to put this in for a little less time because it was melted before. So now we're going to be doing peanut butter delight. I've got another cookie sheet set up with the parchment paper, and as you saw, we already had melted the white chocolate. So what we're going to do now is add the flavoring of the peanut butter. And this is not an exact science. This is probably about a pound of chocolate. I'm going to add in a few big scoopfuls of the peanut butter. I know it might be more helpful if I actually told you exactly what we were going to use, but I'm Italian and I don't always use recipes. I kind of just go with what works. So my grandmother used to do it that way and I could never understand. And now that I'm older and make things, mostly chocolate and not real food, but now that I do this, I understand. So I've added in kind of a big hunk of peanut butter. You can use any kind of peanut butter you want. If you like the chunky, that's nice. For this one, I like to do it a nice smooth one, and you'll see we're going to make some cool designs. But for now, I'm going to just use the smooth peanut butter. Obviously, you're going to do it to your taste. So this is going to melt pretty easily into here because the chocolate was warm, and it's going to make it so that you'll see it coming to like a brownish color, tan. And if you do this enough, you'll get the hang of it and know what that color is supposed to be. But at the very worst, you've added a lot of peanut butter and you have a nice peanut butter taste. So not really a problem. It's one of those things that you get the idea as you go along. With this, I like to have the milk chocolate ready to go so that the white chocolate doesn't set up completely and we can do this little swirl thing that I was talking about. So we'll check on this and see how it's going for the milk chocolate. It looks like it's pretty well set. It is. So you can see how easily that melted, and it's going to be nice and smooth. Sometimes I just go like that and drizzle it on top. We might use a bag. We'll see what happens. We'll get this put out there first and see how we do. So this is just going to get spread the same way we did the peanut butter, the pretzel bark. And you can start with a little bit and always add more. But you can see how different this is. There's nothing in there, so it's not going to be like that pretzel bark where there were big lumps. This can be a lot thinner. And I just like this. It's easy to break up later. It's pretty simple. Because of the time constraints on the show, we're going to put this into the fridge as well. We might not get to see this actually broken up, but we'll get an idea of what it would be like. You'll at least see how we did this. So that's your base here. You could make it thicker if you want. Like I said, this is just my personal taste. As long as I have chocolate, I'm okay. It doesn't have to be a huge amount. So I'm going to try this and see. If it doesn't work, we'll just add the bag. But I think we're going to be able to do this okay. So we're going to put the chocolate on. The milk chocolate's going on to the peanut butter and white chocolate. And then we're just going to swirl this around and see if we can make a nice design. Just makes it look kind of cool. That's not the design. It's going to get better than that, hopefully. So you can take a knife or a toothpick. I'm going to use this knife because it's got the real sharp point on it. And you're just going to swirl this around. You can go up and down. Just make lines like this that some of you might have tried when you use frosting. It's really simple to do. I like to do this. I think it's kind of, you can be a little artistic with it. And sometimes I'll even add a little bit more. So it's almost in 2 layers, so you'll get like a little bit different shade on the chocolate. Some will be a little more mixed in, some won't. And the bigger the globs, then the more milk chocolate you're going to have in there. So if you like the peanut butter taste better and you want to have more of that, you're not a milk chocolate person, you can do a little less of this. But you can see it makes a neat design. And then you can play with it, do different things. But for the most part, looks nice and it's still good enough to eat. I go to the edge. Not as much in life, but on my chocolate, I go to the edge. So there we go. And this is going to go in the fridge, just like the other one. I'm going to check on the pretzel bark right now. I think it's going to need a little more time, but let's see. Actually, I think we're pretty good. Actually, that worked. I'm going to put the peanut butter one into the freezer because that's going to go a little faster, and maybe we'll get to see the end of that. I live in a very old house that's over 300 years old, and my fridge is old. It's not quite that old, but almost, and it's a tiny little freezer, so it only holds a certain amount, and I knew I couldn't do the pretzel bark and this, but I think that's going to be fine. It might even set up while we're going to be plating this, and I can give you an idea of what both things are going to be. So this came out already, and it breaks off really easy. You can see, you can just break it into small pieces. Some people like to take this mallet that we use to do the pretzels and crunch them up. They flip this over and then they just hit the back of it, which once again might get rid of some of your frustrations and be a little cheaper than a therapist. So if you wanted to do that, that's something you can do. It is important to have it in the fridge mainly, and that you're going to break it up. It makes it a lot easier. It's nice and crisp. And like I said, it doesn't need to go back in the fridge. Most of the chocolates that we're going to be making don't need to go in the fridge for the most part. Sometimes they'll even sweat if they do. So you don't want to put them back into the fridge. But for the purposes of making things solid fast, it works. You could leave them out on the counter, but I just like the crispness that you get when you break that off. It makes it nice and a nice edge. So with these, you can put them onto a little tray. Sometimes I put them in a bag too. It makes a nice gift or something that you can bring to a party. I give these out at the holidays and everybody loves it because it's hard not to like chocolate. Even if they're someone that can't eat chocolate themselves, they can put it out when they have guests over. And you can see how easy that is. So when I put it into the bags, I just get cellophane bags. You can use, there's all different things you can get. If you want to get some for Christmas that have a little Christmas design on them, you can. And you can see there's parts of it that are really thick, parts that are thin, but it's a nice variety. And I like to do a lot of different sizes. So if it's at a party, people can decide what they want to do in terms of eating a lot or eating a little. So I usually try to keep a few different sizes in there. And I'm just going to finish this bag and show you how nice it looks. But more importantly, how good it tastes. You can trust me on that one. So you make up a bag like this. I usually just tie it with a bow. Make it look even better. You can also make up little labels if you're better than I am on the computer. And you can say dark chocolate pretzel bark, peanut butter delight. And that way it's listed on there. You can write the to and from, whatever. Obviously, you guys can figure that out. I'm only here to help you with the chocolate part of this. So I wanted to go into a little bit of what you can make, the different kinds. Obviously, the sky's the limit. With any of the ones that I'm going to mention, you can do milk, dark, white chocolate. But some of the favorites that I've found that people like, I do a mint chocolate Oreo, and then I put it into white. So it looks really nice, and it's nice even at the holidays because it's got the green, the black, and the white. So that's kind of nice. And like I said, I usually try to crunch up extra Oreos and leave them on top so people know what that is. Then you can drizzle it if you want or not. I do one with craisins and almonds, which comes out really good, and I pretend that that's my health food line, and it's a little bit better for you than all this other stuff that I make. So we kind of have some fruits and nuts in there. At Christmas time, I make a peppermint bark. That's really, really good. It's a little bit more work in terms of crunching up the peppermints, but I found a few local supermarkets that have the peppermints already crushed up. Not the ones like the semi-sweet ones that there's actually peppermint in there. This is actual just candy canes or peppermint candy crushed up. So if you can buy that already done, it's pretty easy. And I just put a very thin layer of dark chocolate, then a layer of white, and then I just put the peppermint on top, and it works out really well. There's an endless supply of what you can do with chocolates and the barks. Like I said, we're going to do that. We did the pretzel bark today. The peanut butter delight should be out in a minute. And it's just once you get started and start playing with it, you might find, oh, I had some potato chips left over from something and the end of the bag was all crushed. So you can put in pretzels and potato chips, peanut butter and chocolate. I do that one a lot and call it P2C2. So you've got two things that start with the P, two things that start with the C, and it's a really good combination of salty and sweet, and then you've got your peanut butter in there. So for me, that can't be bad. I'm going to check on that now and see how we're doing, and if it's ready, we'll plate that up, and I wish you could taste how good it is because it really is good, but hopefully you'll try these things yourself and maybe try making it and see how you do. Okay, this one looks like it's ready. When I get it out here, we'll see if it is. And now you can see that design a little bit better. And I hate to break it up because it is pretty, but we have to because I don't want to give one person that whole thing. So what you do is just the same as we did on that, and you're just going to break it. Now this wasn't in a long time, so it's not getting those crisp edges. But you're going to do the same thing, break that up. And we're just going to do this tray a little differently now that I know that the Peanut Butter Delight came out in time. And we just have to break that up. And like I said, you can do all different sizes. It's more important what it tastes like, but it's nice if it looks good too. And you can see that start to finish in less than half an hour. We have two really good chocolate barks that are not hard to do, that taste wonderful, and will cause you to get invited lots of places if they know that you're going to be bringing this with you. You could do the same thing and put it into a bag. You can make it whatever you want. That's what's nice about this. So I hope I've given you some good ideas on what you can do. This is our finished platter and the bag. I think that we are about done. That's going to be all for today. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us at studio@lakecam.tv. Just remember that life is sweet, and I hope that you all enjoy every minute. Join us next time on Small Things Greatly.